Over the meeting of the Sept Fire District Board of Directors. Also,
I pledge allegiance to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
you everybody for coming. Open this time for public comments. Anything that is not on tonight's agenda, you can go ahead and raise your hand at this time. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. But the board cannot take any action on anything that's not on the agenda. One.
My name is Diane Mean. I'm a Firewise community leader over in Hidden Valley. It's across from Station 19. And I just wanted to express our gratitude to my little gang for opening Station 19 and for all the help that Chief Doerr and his staff have provided for our small little community. Thank you.
Anybody else? And we'll close public comment. Consent agenda. Does anybody have anything that they would like to pull from the consent agenda? Report.
Motion to approve.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
On to old business, South Patrick Fire District policy updates.
So we have one policy, the 41,000 performance evaluations. As you'll remember from last month, this merely is a change to the forms for the daily evaluation of probationary employees. This is the second reading and adoption under the current policies.
Questions or comments on policy 1,000? Public comment, questions or comments on our policies from the public?
I hear that we approved the Southwestern Pride District policy.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Community Facilities District annexation and amendment.
So we brought this to you last month and you approved with a vote of 6-1, the CFD annexations. When we got done with that, we looked closely at the maps and the verbiage of the resolution, and they did not align. The map said annexation and the resolution said amendments, right? So now we have before you an amended resolution that makes sure the verbiage is correct, as well as the numbering of the resolutions. Sorry, the numbering of the annexations that's been added to the maps. So technical issue, this is our first go at this. Apologies for the mistake. That came from consultants as we worked through this process to get everything lined out. So before you, we'll bring back 13 annexations into the CFD under an amended resolution.
Questions or comments from the board? Questions or comments from the public?
I do a motion that we, so the annexations with the new verbiage as presented.
Second.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Director Randall, how do you vote? Director Newsom?
Aye.
Director Gibson?
Aye.
Director Lindishausen?
Aye.
Director Flanagan?
Aye. Nay.
Fiscal year 2025-2026 final budget adoption.
So before you, you have the final budget adoption, which has to be done by law before the month of October, and that's why we're putting it in September. This is a balanced budget with some money that's going to reserve. If you look at the board adopted goals on the left versus the 25-26 budget, we're fairly close on most of them, 82.35 on wages and benefit, 13.9 on service and ops, so on and so forth down the line. This assumes a 6.3% increase in property tax revenue that was reported by the county. It reflects existing contract costs. No future negotiations have been, they're just started, so we didn't include anything in there. They fund some of the capital for major facilities and equipment reserves. We have a capital expense of a new type 1 in conjunction with mitigation money and a landscape project at Station 18, which we'll talk about a little bit later this evening. And then in mitigation, we have the final payment on the type 1 engine we bought 4 or 5 years ago. And that payment for the new engine, which I'll give you an update on here in a little bit. So that is the budget to you for questions and adoption. Budget questions for the board.
Public comment, any questions or comments on the budget for 25-26?
I hear that we approve the.
Go ahead.
Oh,
I'm sorry, 25, 26.
I hear that we approve the budget for the 25-26 as presented.
Second.
Director
Aye.
Director Flanagan.
Aye.
Six.
Strategic plan update.
So the board's asked for an ongoing update on the strategic plan in order to make it not so long. What we've decided to do, and this is fully on your, if you want something different, please let me know, but we'll take 2 at a time. And so you'll see everything once a quarter. So today we're starting out with training goals and fiscal sustainability. Next month, you'll see the next 2. And then the third month, you'll see the last 2, and then we'll start back over. So in December, you'll get to see training and fiscal stability again, sustainability. We start off with that. We have the training goals of develop training program needs, identify training needs, formalize training cadre, and develop program budget. And then fiscal sustainability goals of current financial needs, future financial needs, current and potential revenue streams, and increased communication, transparency, and financial standings to stakeholders. Here's the goal 1 of develop training program needs, and under that, there's a number of tasks. Things in blue have not been started. Things in yellow have been started, and things in green have been completed. We, under the training domain, with the addition of Chief Snedeker taking over, we're getting through a little bit of a changeover of who's responsible for what and how that's going to go as a project owner or as a task owner. And so some of these things have been extended a little bit, although nothing terribly too long. As you can see here, we'll start at the top. The need for a training officer we plan on having done by the end of the year. Clear path for career development by the end of October. Develop standardized training content. I believe we're going to start on imminently at some point here. I know the training cadre is working diligently on starting a bunch of these stuff and moving forward. Enhance the current training calendar, I think, is close to being done. And so we have that at the end of this month. Develop position-specific training, not started. Training manual is a huge lift that we haven't had the capacity for at this point, but will be started in the near future. Standard company evolutions are underway, as well as multi-company, again, at the end of this month. Standard operating guidelines are a pretty big lift. I know it says short-term on the timeline, but after digging into it, I know we've talked in the past, likely we're going to take a lot of our neighboring agencies, adopt those in. The Western Placer Fire Chiefs is adopting countywide SOGs. So we'll bring those in and they're piecemealing them together. I don't think it'll be till June of 26. I think I may have made a typo as I was putting that in there. But we're working on those, and performance standards and revised has not been completed. Before I move on, any questions on this block of goals? Okay. Task 2, identify training needs. Mandatory training, annual training, and emerging topics are all being done now with Chief Snedeker and Chief Mittling working on those. We anticipate sometime by the end of October. Industry best standards hasn't been started by this, although I know that it's something that's in the minds and thoughts. And so it's, while I don't have an actual start date, I think it's in conjunction with everything else. There we go. Formalized training cadre has been completed. We have subject matter experts and we have an org chart. Those are all done and complete. Questions on this block? Right.
I do.
Fire away.
On your subject matter experts, do you have people outside South Placer Fire District that are on any of your cadres?
Not currently.
The intent is that the first multi-company drill, which is happening in the middle of October, is taught by outside agency people, and we'll mix that probably half and half as we move forward.
I just think it'd be a good idea if you included some of your partners in the surrounding agencies in some of your cadres and take the experience from subject matter experts outside the department that are truly subject matter experts in things and have them help you teach in your training classes.
I know that, in the county's training breakout, we do have representatives from all of the allied agencies in the county. And we have multi-company drills planned after the first of the year for our Fire SCBA, which is those stations will be taught by other agencies. So we'll all be teaching each other as well as we roll into the following year. Obviously, we're going to be leaning on our other agencies relating to spool up again for the next wildland season with that and from the unit as well. So those opportunities are there and they're on that horizon. We just have to kind of take care of a few things in-house first and get that on track with Bailey's and then those larger.
Thank you.
Are those mainly refresher courses that you put out or new training concepts and things like that?
But I think the training calendar's mapped out over 2 years. And all of the drills are kind of designed around a crawl, walk, run strategy, no matter what, they're basic to advanced skill sets. So that's how it's designed. I think that's standard practice for the industry, and that's how we're going to continue.
So they'll have multi-company drills. These guys will get together, multiple engine companies, and they'll drill together and all that stuff. But then there's outside classes also that are industry standard that are offered by Roseville Fire, Sac City, whoever. And then these guys can sign up and go to those classes. So it's kind of a multifaceted. Does that make more sense?
Sure. And how often do you do these?
Well,
I was just going to say that right now, in the past, not as frequent as those opportunities seem now somehow recently have presented themselves quite a bit. So like today, Chief and I probably shared about 5 different emails going back and forth of like lithium ion training, active shooter training. There's some other multi-company trainings that are like shovel ready to be put on the ops calendar to assign companies for the day. Okay. They're not even being taught by South Placer. They're countywide, region-wide.
we're plugged in with the partnering agencies.
And the final block of training, evaluate training budget needs and maximize CalJack funding opportunities. Those are in process. But the CalJack has anticipated a date of May. I will look into that. Questions on that? All right, moving on to financial. This one's a little more dense. Develop training program needs. So as we continue to focus on training, this is under the financial side. So we have assess the need for a training officer and develop a clear path for career development. Those are in progress again with October and December as anticipated completion dates. Develop standardized training. Hold on a second. My slides got jimmied up. That should be it. Here we go. Let's start over. For those weeks. Let's go with financial goals. Identify current financial needs, evaluate district program needs, and evaluate personnel costs, salaries, and budgets. We're working on those. I know I've got The program needs are pretty close to wrapped up, and I'm planning on having those by October. I know Unit Rep Patterson is working diligently to get his people to get the personnel costs complete. Evaluation of budget to maximize efficiencies is complete, but that's one of those things that's going to be ongoing forever and ever. So we got a green bar. We identify future fiscal needs, conduct a comparable market analysis. Again, Unit Rep Patterson's working on that. Identify capital needs and equipment funding needs. Chief Feely is obviously gone. We'll replace him in there, but that should be done for our October meeting. And that's one of those that, again, is an ongoing basis. We look at short-term and medium-term and long-term in terms of what we need for capital and equipment, and evaluate financial reserve needs. We had a recent discussion with the finance committee to talk about developing strategies and policies around financial reserve, which I hope we can bring to a conclusion by the end of the year. Questions on the tasks really wanted to. Okay, moving on. 3, continuing to evaluate and pursue grant opportunities. Again, complete but ongoing. And underutilized revenue streams, again, complete but ongoing. We're continuously looking at all the options available to us for additional underutilized revenue. Consider additional revenue streams through voter approved measures. We had a meeting earlier this week, today's Tuesday, so yesterday, to discuss just that. And finally, increase communications and transparency, provide information, annual reports, quarterly newsletter, social meetings, etc., to stakeholders. And that continues to move forward. We just, the annual report is on the website, and we're having nice versions printed out that will be available for distribution. And we've taken under evaluation or under advisement direction from the board to move that to a fiscal year. So that you'll see that again this time next year for the fiscal year, and evaluate current budgeting principles, which we again discussed, I think, with the financial committee to talk about those in conjunction with certain policies. Questions on the financial?
I have one question. Who does your grant writing?
I do.
Are you good?
Yes, exactly.
Very subjective. We've generated 1.2 million in the 4 years I've been here.
Okay.
Which is, that's above average return.
You said he is
Better than before, right?
infinite.
Yes. And then the last item on the strategic plan was to put the board adopted goals into the strategic plan. I was having a terrible time with getting the formatting correct, so it's not at this meeting, but I will get it to you at the next meeting. That strategic plan is a little complicated in how they formatted it. So bear with me as I work through the technical issues of Microsoft Word. With that, I think that's the end of the strategic plan. Yeah, any questions? Further questions from the board? Questions or comments from? Oh.
Moving on to new business, policy updates.
All right, 1201, the adoption amendment of policies. So in your packet, you'll see a policy on how to amend and adopt policies. I believe we've included the language that you requested in terms of amending policies to include a option to have it approved at the first reading, if you so desire. And you can propose changes, in which case the policy could be read a second time. The changes are in blue in your board packet. I will put that up to you all for discussion.
Comments from the board?
I have a question. Remind me of the name of the agency that provides us policy.
Lexipol.
Okay. And I had asked previously about, it just seemed like every meeting where, and part of the genesis of this second reading thing is, policy. That when are we going to complete our policy adoptions? Or I almost feel like this is a treadmill sometimes. And
Agreed.
I've mentioned this before to you.
So I come from a city, as do I think some of you all in a county. This for me is, I'm trying to meet your policies that have been in place for a while. We in the city of Stockton would never have taken our policies to the city council to have them approved and adopted. So for me, this is kind of I'm trying to meet what's in the policy that was adopted before I got here. I think honestly, the policies of the district should be operated and run by staff, and these, barring some way outside their ideas, should be the purview of the chief and staff. Yes,
So
sir.
let's change it, because I agree with that. Operational things should be up to the fire chief and his staff. So, I mean, I'm just,
There's a section in here
it's board comment.
that board policies,
I
which,
support your,
okay,
So policies are supposed to be approved at a board level. But I guess one of my concerns is that I make a real distinct differentiation between policies and procedures. So for example, the evaluation forms, chief is also like HR director. That's your purview. Work that out to what's effective for you and your operations and your positions. I just don't, that just seems like minutia for them.
I don't think we should be approving every single policy.
So,
And
to me-
maybe Janine has a point that maybe we approve policy, but everything you do should be procedure or SOG, right? Because we're not gonna approve SOGs, and operationally, I don't think it's appropriate for the board to be approving operational decisions. That's up to you, and that's up to your deputy chief. And so I have no problem making a change, coming up as a board with
So
some
I think over
ideas.
time, the policies and procedures lift into ones. I think we should go
Yeah.
back and look at the current policies, figure out what are procedures and what are policies, and go, okay, these particular ones, if there is changes to be made in these, then it needs to come before the board. But the other ones that are procedural don't need to come before the board.
I agree.
And as far as this goes with the single reading, in my opinion, if a policy comes before the board and we read it and there's minor changes that need to be, not substantive changes, but minor changes that need to be made, I think we should still be able to approve it in the first reading. If there's great substantive changes that need to be made, then I think we should go to a second reading so that we can make sure that we have it right the first time and we're not back in 2 months later going, okay, we need to revisit this policy. But I agree, the procedures are procedures.
Yeah, and so, I would love an item to come back before this board, and I know it's probably gonna be a little bit of a project, but to go through all those policies and say, oh, this is actually a policy, because policies should have staying power, and it should be like 5 years, or there should be some kind of a circumstance or a legislative change or something like that that triggers a review of a policy or something's not working. But if we could go through all those policies and parse out, now, these are procedures, these are actual board level policies, come back to the board with an item that says, for the board to say, yep, those are policy, those are procedures, they're under your purview. I don't want to hear about them anymore. And these are actually policies.
so what I think I'm hearing is, and how this is set up is, I believe there's 12 sections in our manual. I'm gonna call it a policy and procedure manual. 1 through 11 are operational procedures, probably by definition, and 12 is board policies. So for the board, how do you operate? How do you govern? How do you do those things? We'll go through all of them to make sure what those look like, and we'll bring back policies under that will fall within this. Everything else becomes a procedure that is the purview of chief and staff. That
Yeah.
From my background, we had 2 sets, which is basically what we're talking about. We had operations orders and general orders. And general orders are something that should be more under the purview of the board. But operation orders, You guys figure that out. I think you guys should separate them and then present it to us.
To me, policies are like financial policies. What level are your reserves going to be? What is contracting authority? Just really high level stuff. Legislative positions, policies about things that might be at the legislative level. That's what I think of policy. And I just think there's a lot of procedure here that.
When did you want to get back to something?
Would love it next meeting. No, I'm just kidding. I
Absolutely.
think it's gonna take a little bit to probably go through and.
I think we start out with just, looking at the title and the heading of each one and go, yeah, this is not procedure, or this is not a policy. Did you say you want to look at all?
But out
No,
of, but just beware that out of those policies, it might be a policy, but there's probably 10 procedures in there that you'll have to strip out. The policy should be, a sentence to 3 sentences, right? And then everything else underneath that is a procedure.
Yeah, I don't know. We're gonna have to go through the manual and see what's what. So I would say probably a month or two at least. Everything else we have going on to
Yeah.
get through this.
So
I mean, I've never seen anything like this where boards have policies in front of them. It's like 1 to 5 policies every single.
It doesn't bring me any joy.
I think we were getting close to
I
the
just think we're in the weeds
shouldn't-
here a little.
I shouldn't say this out loud, but I've done a lot of policy and procedure, and Janine is absolutely correct. So I will tell you that, man, I'm gonna shoot myself for saying this. If you want some help with it, I'm willing to sit down and get together with you guys and help you. Not to tell you what to do, but just help you extrapolate a policy from procedure.
So are you?
I've done a ton of it, so.
Next 2 months.
I don't want to write your policy and procedure, but I'm willing to help you.
Yeah, I mean, just take it and start just strip it out. This goes into the procedures manual. This goes, and then, you know what? Once it's in the procedures manual, have at. That's yours.
Great.
If you want to change it, you change it and don't bother us with it.
We have standard operating procedures. Totally different now. Then we had the state rules and regulations, which were policies that governed over the beginning areas.
I think there's a vocabulary here that we're gonna have. Nice. More so in the management system of Lexipol than what we all know is policy versus procedure. So this is what we inherited, and so we'll get through it.
So do we have like a contract with Lexipol? And when does that contract up?
Yeah,
Just
for how long?
a year.
Okay, so what I think Janine's getting at is, okay, so you strip the policy from the procedure, you start looking at another company, and when that's up, and you work with that company that you want to hire and say, here's what we're looking for, those people will help you. They'll work hard to get your business, right? And then you can
We're
figure
not
out
the state.
Actually, where I'm coming from is, do you really even need a company? I mean,
Well,
your
it's
procedures,
probably cheaper, to be under Lexipol because they update every time the state updates their codes for harassment or all
Okay,
that stuff.
all right.
As opposed to paying our attorneys
Yeah.
to continually evaluate and review stuff coming down.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong, it's not cheap by any stretch of the imagination. I hate cutting the check, but I believe it's cheaper than actually.
how much
paying.
is it?
It's like 13 grand a year.
Like having a consultant, I mean.
yeah, I mean, I can see where you have to respond to things like that, legislative changes. But
Simple code change that
So that's the thing. I think you need to go to Lexipol and say, this isn't quite working for us. I need you to strip this out into policy and procedure, and here's what we need. Can you do that for me? Because it doesn't take much to write
do
that
they, or
code.
do they just have a standard product they're sending out? 'Cause
that
I-
is standard product percent.
Yeah.
Now, if you want that kind of help, it's probably $175 an hour. They're not in the business of helping
But let me get,
Pete
let me,
and I can sit
So
down
that's
with you.
great, you're willing to
Yeah,
have that.
some of it.
Yeah.
Through some of it.
To your point, though, 95% of this is not gonna be relevant to what you guys need to do.
I mean, we-
To our point, you're right. We don't want to deal with your guys' operational stuff. It's not appropriate for us as a board to be diving into the operations, as far as I'm concerned. My opinion is that's why we hired the chief, and that's why you're here, and that's why you have battalion chiefs and captains all the way down to the fireman level. That's operationally, you guys need to handle your business. Administratively, we need to administer, or at least administer with the chief, those policies that, are legal and those types of things. Operationally, that's up to you guys. And I think that if we can separate that, not only will it'll lighten the load on the board meetings, but it'll also take some heat off of you guys and keep us from meddling in your business. And ultimately, I know that's what every one of you want. We appreciate it. So.
Again, it's like financial policies. There are certain policies we're obligated to address, like, workplace violence and harassment and things like that. So like, I think Pete encapsulated it pretty well. It's typically financial and legal related. So,
Anything else from the board?
And I think I heard Tracy offer to help you as well. So.
You're gonna start
Sounds like we're
tomorrow.
gonna have a working group.
Yeah.
I like it.
Okay.
All right.
That'll do that.
Open it for public comment. Any comment from the public?
I had a comment and a question from labor. When you separate all these policies and procedures and policies and procedures, from your perspective in the city, did you meet or confer upon procedures that impacted wages and working conditions?
Procedures generally don't impact the wages and working conditions. They're the legalities, the finance and those types of issues that we would go through. It wouldn't be the stuff that you're dealing with uniforms and station duties and.
So you would still meet and confer upon procedure changes?
things that you have to meet and confer in, and if those issues arose, then you would address them at that point and determine with legal assistance, whether it's a meet and confer item, and if it is, then you go into meet and confer.
Majority.
That's just
Yeah.
the question, because we've never met and conferred, my knowledge on it. We've only ever, for the last 3 years, done a lot of policies in the process of updating.
That's because unfortunately, they're all lumped into one, right? So I'm just gonna say it. He, as the fire chief, has a right to run the fire department, right? So if he tells you guys, puts out, or he has Chief Snedeker put out a memo that says we're no longer going to follow the type 1 engine with the grass rig, that's not a meet and confer because it doesn't involve, pay or working conditions, right? And the board should not be involved in that. Those are operational decisions that are left to the administration. Where it would come into effect for meet and confer is if he wanted to change up how the overtime and force policy and those types of things, that would be more of a meet and confer. But your everyday operational decisions, he has the right as the fire chief to make those decisions without meet and conferring on
If
everything.
there was a procedure that came up that was looked at and there was, some form in there that needed to be conferred upon, yeah, that would be conferred.
Even though it's a procedure, not a policy.
Yes.
That's my question. Thank you.
I don't know of anything in there that would be that,
Well, I mean,
but we don't know until we go through and separate these things out into policies.
Well, like our staffing.
Now, there's procedures within policies.
Like our staffing policy is really a staffing procedure.
But that's
we
not the
met
kind of procedures we're talking about. So that's a policy that has procedures within it.
Well, even the staffing, if he meets with you guys and decides that that's what he's going to do, then you have the option to grieve that, right? And then eventually it could come to the board to make that decision.
Well,
So-
we met for
Well, but what if you don't agree and he decides to do it anyway? And you file a grievance and then it comes to the board and,
That's actually not a grievance, that's an impasse
okay.
in negotiating.
But there's still a process.
Yeah, that's what we pay
Right.
our and your experts for.
But that's the process, right? But he still has the right with the, to do those things.
I mean, every meeting we've had 1 to 5, and maybe even a couple of times more than that, policies that we've adopted, we haven't run up against a meet and confer thing yet that I'm aware of, so.
Yeah, we're meeting before it gets to you.
Oh,
We
okay,
agree-
okay,
we-
all right.
We
Okay.
agree
So,
on
so you still are doing it, right?
Yeah, so the current system
Okay.
is they develop policy, it gets sent to the union looks at it and says, we feel that this is good, and then it comes to us, or we want to meet and confer on this, and then they meet and confer over it, and we actually had some involvement in the meet and confer
Yeah.
process for a while. And then once that's been conferred on and there's a final product, then it comes to the board.
But I'm gonna go with what, Pete says, there's processes for that. And,
Anything that was legally bound to be conferred over will be conferred over, whether it's
Yeah.
policy or procedure, if it's a change in wage, working conditions or benefits. You're obligated, your employer still is proud to confer. So we'll continue to do that.
Do we have anything else that's supposed to be coming in before us? I don't. I think we're pretty close to being done when we get, right?
Yeah, but there's continual updates on stuff because as of right now, or before today, hey, we changed a code, right? They updated, 3 laws. We would bring that back to you for 2 readings, which is
no, that's
why we're here.
annoying.
I'm glad you've gotten frustrated enough to now we can figure this out.
So here's my question to the board. The way this is written, are we good with this until we get this policy and procedure thing separated out so that we
Yeah.
do have other things that come forward?
Yeah.
Yes, you're not having.
I think this was our attempt to
Okay.
So you'll see one more, a second reading on this thing, because we can't do it now,
Yeah,
it's
second reading.
adopted.
To make it where we can only
I
have.
know, I know.
Or I guess, could you read and adopt it now in first reading? What came first, the chicken or the egg?
Okay. Anything
All right.
else? Moving on. Fiscal year 24-25 draft quarterly budget report.
This is the final fourth quarter, budget report for 24-25. This is unaudited, so what you have in front of you is our general revenue was on 100.5%. Our consolidated mitigation revenue came in at 135.8%. And our CFA reimbursement was 236%, but remember CFA is more or less passed through. Pretty much whatever's earned plus a few percentage points is then spent on the other side. So we budgeted 17.7, we earned 18.2 for a total of 103% on revenue. On expenditures, salaries and benefits, 96.3%, CFAA expenditures, 199.5%, service and ops at 78.9, fixed assets at 45.2, capital at 103.6, and consolidated mitigation at 83.4 for a total expenditure of 93.9%. We'll finish the year in the positive. We won't know what that number actually looks like until we have an audited financial report in October.
Expected to see that in November.
So that'll come to you in November. But overall, it looks pretty good. And we need to approve the quarterly report.
Any questions from the board on the quarterly report?
I'd just like to say nice going.
I hear that we approved the quarter, I'm sorry,
Any questions or comments from the public on the quarterly report?
sorry.
Those public comment? Go ahead.
I hear that we approved the quarterly report as presented for 24-25.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Sorry, it's just a long day.
25 fire fee program nexus study.
All right, I'm gonna say a lot of words, and I know what
quite a few of them means, but if you have serious directed questions, Bear will be back to have this discussion in November. So bear with me as
I
I
have a question. I didn't understand what you're saying.
get through this. Fire impact fees. We collect fire impact fees, and what they are for one-time proceeds to fund new development, share of costs of expansion of infrastructure of the community. Essentially, in layman's terms, we collect the fees to offset whatever the impact is for the development. These are considered pay as its own way, or growth should pay for growth. There's a couple of court cases and mitigation fee acts there that are important to somebody. As you as the board should know that these are the laws that govern what we do. Ultimately, you have to do a nexus study, and I'll talk about that in a minute, about every 8 years. We're at year 7. You do not have a land use authority as the fire district. The county and the town of Loomis have the land use authority, and that'll come into play here in a minute. Methodology and approach, you look at the fee cost and components, and there was a couple recent cases that changed what we do. So the fee costs, land stations and buildings, we're talking about replacement and new construction, apparatus and vehicles, equipment, and a fee program administration, what that costs. Existing facility standard methodology, what your level of service is, system-wide, open-ended, service to other communities, and factors like occupancy density, service calls, building square footage. This looks at existing development of homes and residents, business and employees in the existing fire system. Once you take that all into effect, you get a nexus study. Last one was done in 2018. At that point in time, it cost $520 per square foot to build a fire station. Today, that cost is $1,050 a square foot. There is a stronger nexus, which replaces, historically, there was like a 50-50 split, but this new law, and that was I think it's Nolan decision, allows for this nexus, or, Janine, can you help me with what the nexus actually is? It's how you get to the fees, right?
It's basically justification.
Justification.
Yeah, how you arrived at it, what costs went into it.
We just can't say, hey, we think it's a good idea to charge $90 because that's what we feel. There actually has to be a reason or a justification. And the Sheets case also solidified that justification based on those things that we just talked about. And we're going to ask for an annual adjustment to this over the next 8 years before we do our nexus study, and that'll be tied to the engineering news records, CCI, a consumer construction index for San Francisco. Here's what they were. I'll take, for example, the single family house top line, 94 cents. It'll go to $1.51. That's a 60% increase. Now that is really tied to the fact that it costs more to build, we're running more calls, the impact is greater on the system, and that nexus is what is driving those up. And you can see down the percent change side, we've got everything from a negative 52% for agriculture went down because there's not a lot of fire demand there. And with assisted living facilities or huge demand, that's why they're going from $1.03 to 302 cents a foot. And over here on the right, you see there's an average maximum fire impact fee per housing unit, $3,600 on a single family, $1,800 on a multifamily, and $2,500 on a mobile. Here's a chart that basically compares us to other agencies that have recently done fire impact fees in neighboring jurisdictions. The lower orange line is us in 2018. The upper orange line, second from the top, is us in 2025. You can see North Star is charging $339, Olympic Valley is charging $281, and then we get into Placer County, Nevada, El Dorado, Mosquito at $272. Truckee, so we're in the ballpark of what other people are charging. The North Tahoe area is obviously charging a lot more, but this is what we can justify. Use of fee revenue, this is what we can use it for. Basically, it's anything new because of new development. We're adding something to the fleet. We're building a new facility to address growth. All those things. What's prohibited is existing deficiencies. I can't go in and remodel a station using this money. We can't pay for replacement of apparatus, and we can't use operational maintenance or repair costs.
Every year we have to make sure the fees are separated by fund. And that they're being expended solely for the purpose in which they're collected, and they must be expended on fire facilities, equipment, apparatus that expand the district service capacity. Every year we produce an annual report that comes to you in October, November. That's not right. That's right, October, November, and then every 5 years, we have a 5-year report, how we spent the money. And then those reports are prepared by the district, approved by the board, and filed with the county. So every year that goes to the county, it's given to them. Here's basically what's going to come your way. So I'm talking head for Blair today, just to kind of get this on your radar. You have a copy of the draft Nexus study in your board packet. In November, I think I got a timeline slide here. Yeah, okay. Let me back up a little bit. So we'll do a notice public hearing in November where you'll receive and approve an update Nexus study and its recommendation for impact fees. You'll formally request that the Board of Supervisors in the town adopt the fee program on behalf of the district because they're the land use authority. You'll approve and request an automatic annual engineering update. And then there's some language in there to indemnify the county and the town and what that timeline looks like. We're meeting right now in September, October, talk to stakeholders, outreach with Placer County and Town of Loomis to socialize this. Board meeting in November, notice public hearing, talk about the Nexus study, review it, you adopt it, and then it goes to the Board of Supervisors in the town for them to adopt. I said a lot in a very short period of time. Questions on the process, the Nexus study, or what's going on?
Are those fees collected by the county or directly to us?
We collect them
Okay.
and they stay with the district.
Any idea what the, what's in the account? And so I used to have to deal with this and they used to only let you use a percentage. I saw in your slide, it says up to 100%.
Depends on what it's for.
Depends on what it's for, right? So it used to be very, very difficult to use at times. It appears to me they've changed the law. So is it much easier to use the mitigation fees?
It's not as restrictive, I don't think. So we're using it on, for example, you approved the budget to use it for, to pay for this new fire engine. That's being a new addition to the fleet due to increased service demand. And so I think there's about $1 million, just a little over $1 million. We're going to expend 900,000 of that on that engine, which brings us down to about $100,000 in bid money. Now, remember, there's a five-year recapture. So if we don't spend it in 5 years, the developer can come back and ask for it back. So we're cleaning out the fund and using it on what it's supposed to be used for and moving in a good direction.
Thank you.
Yeah. So no action tonight. This was an update. Expect to see Blair in November where we'll get this process started. Public comment, any questions in public? Okay, moving on. Contractor service for Loomis Union School District. So one of the goals of the board has been to look for ways to optimize revenue. One of those ideas that was floated a while back was explore outside contracting options. We have a mechanic, we have a shop, we have some capacity, we have an application for an apprentice mechanic to bring us up to 1.5 mechanics, and no slight to an apprentice, but we'll get there. What we did was we reached out to Loomis Union, who was having a hard time, the school district, who was having a hard time getting service on a reliable basis. This contract would allow us to provide services for their light medium duty vehicles to do PMIs. For some reason, I'm completely, thank you, preventative maintenance, some brakes, some fluid changes, those kinds of things for those vehicles in exchange for revenue. The way this is set up, both sides of the legal have looked at it. We're not buying any of their equipment because that creates a taxable issue going back and forth. So we believe we have a clean, efficient, easy way to essentially contract for services to provide the manpower. They're gonna provide the consumables and the equipment, if it's needed. We're gonna start off with light, work, i.e. we're not replacing motors and trains, we're doing preventative maintenance and simple things, in exchange for, maximizing some revenue. So, what you see before you is a contract that would solidify that relationship and allow us to start doing that work.
Didn't we used to do stuff for like entering in Newcastle?
At some point in time, yes. And I don't know what was done then. So this is why it's taken us a while to get a contract that addresses all of the technical and legal issues.
What are liability concerns on something like that?
There's a liability section in the contract, but essentially, I believe, fancy legal word,
Captain Bob, yeah,
And
you remember what we did for,
section 6 talks about the limitations of the liability, indemnification, and warranties. So it's covered in the contract.
so if I read the contract correctly, for a maximum of $70,000 a year, correct?
Yes,
So we have 1.5 mechanics technically, correct? 1.5 personnel positions. So that brings to my mind, if we have 1.5 positions and we have time to do this for the Loomis School District, I'm just gonna say it, do we need 1.5 positions? And so that's kind of my concern. And what happens if it starts to morph into past preventative maintenance and just services on vehicles, and now all of a sudden they want our mechanic to start doing overhauls or transmission repairs, or, you know,
come to the board for a change in scope of the contract. So 70,000 is limited because the school district can't have an open-ended contract without going through some RFP language for that. 2, right now, we have 1.5 that we're funding on our own. This 70,000 goes to offset the money that we're already funding. Additionally, what it could grow into is the opportunity to make it 2 full-time mechanic positions that can handle our workload and maybe some more. There's some other agencies locally that we could provide these services for outside of these 2 jurisdictions.
is the juice really worth the squeeze?
I don't know until we try. Okay. And this was the direction of the board is, hey, let's figure out some ways to bring in additional revenue. Let's figure out ways to create efficiency. Let's create partnerships with our stakeholders. These are all opportunities to do that. Okay.
Is this a yearly contract?
I believe it is.
but this in the long run will offset, well, actually, we can pay, this part-time guy even more to maybe have a full-time. You know, this money will help offset from what we're paying right now.
So it'd be interesting to see what the total cost for that half a personnel position is.
56,000 a year.
56,000 without benefits, right? That employee does not get benefits. There's no retirement. None of that's paid.
They get PERS once they reach 1,000. It's legally obligated.
Yeah.
And if they're half-time, so they're less than 1,000 hours.
No, they're full-time.
So they're apprentice. Okay, gotcha. So they're meeting full-time hours.
The pay rate for the contract is based on who's doing the work.
Correct. $36 an hour versus what, $70 an hour, something like that. I think is what I read today.
And that more than covers the cost, plus the overhead, plus the management.
I just, for me, if I'm being transparent here, is the juice really worth the squeeze? If that person spends most of their time with the Loomis School District, why does the school district hire their own, apprentice mechanic? If we're not going to truly financially benefit from it, but I'm okay with it after a year. If we look at it and you can show the board that we actually made, you know, enough money to make it worth it, right? Because there is some liability there. And if we're only gonna profit $10,000 and we're gonna spend, you know, that apprentice is gonna spend, you know, a bunch of time there, is the juice really worth the squeeze? So I'll be interested to see. I'm not telling you that I'm a naysayer, but I mean, let's be honest here. It's,
Well, I hear where you're coming from. Something to consider is not just is it the profit at 10,000, but it's the hours that we're paying the employee to be here, that he's actually offsetting his own salary. So it may be a $10,000 profit plus a $25,000 or $30,000 savings on what his regular wages.
but then I'm gonna go back to, did we really need that employee?
Well, it's somebody we have on the books now, and I believe we have some capacity to offset
Okay.
those costs.
And I trust you with that. I just bring up those points
Well, let me also say
for
this,
some
started with
food for thought.
the board,
Right, right.
so as a director.
I
Well, I
don't
don't
think
think we-
we having two mechanics in there because there is times when that second set of hands are needed just on our equipment level.
Right.
Absolutely. And there are things that those mechanics should not be doing without a second person.
Sure.
So I am totally with you.
Taking that into account and then looking at it and going, we have another way to offset the costs that we're already incurring. I think.
Totally get it.
And we
I'm
have,
just bringing up some food for thought.
and we have slow seasons. So there's times when we're not doing a lot of repair, where this is when we'll do your PMIs, we'll do your brakes, we'll do your stuff that can now balance out that.
Will that mechanic do it in their facility or will they come here?
It's all in our facility.
It's all in
It's our
our
facility.
Here, and it includes
I get it.
overhead and administrative offsets.
Yeah,
because we gotta
13%
pay for the, you know,
Administrative fee. I saw that.
those things regardless. And I think it helps stabilize things because you do need a second person for some things. There's cycles and ebbs and flows in the need, and it helps smooth that out. I like the local collaboration. It makes sense to me. And just, this does not include school buses because the school buses are provided by Mid-Placer Transportation Agency. So this is like their fleet vehicles for,
Totally get it.
for maintenance and, you know,
Totally get it. Just
landscaping
food
and
for
things
thought.
like that. Yeah.
So does that money include whatever the parts costs are gonna be or?
No,
whatever
they
in
cover-
addition?
They pay for their costs for
Yeah.
parts,
Yeah.
fluids,
Or directly.
repair, replacement stuff.
It's, to me, it's a no-brainer for a year. And then come back and look at it.
I think it's mutually beneficial.
Like I said, I'm not against it, just some food for thought.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the conversation. We need approval.
Comments from the public.
I had one comment. Thank you for your concern from labor's perspective as the customers, if you will, of the shop. One person is not quite meeting our needs generally. And so we are very happy to see the apprentice added, whether or not there will be, like you say, excess. Currently, our needs exceed one person. Absolutely. Whether or not we're meeting our annual obligations with respect to pump testing on every rig annually, kinda, sometimes, like, it's questionable. It gets extended because something breaks and he has to fix that and, you know, with some of our rigs aging. So from labor's perspective, certainly we need more help in the shop. Whether or not, like you say, that second person would be excessive or half of his time is needed or 3/4. I don't know because we haven't seen what that looks like yet from the customer's perspective. I would be happy to provide updates if you guys chose to do this contract for service and you wanted to know, hey, what's the customer's perspective? When you write up a ticket on your engine on a weekly check, is it fixed in 1 month, 6 months, a year and a half, 2 years? What's your turnaround time? We would be happy to provide that input to you. Currently, we're not stoked. So currently, we definitely feel that there is additional need for additional service capacity from the shop. So justifying the apprentice for sure. And we'd be happy to let you know whether, once that is in place, where we're like, oh yeah, gets fixed instantly, or no, we're still waiting and maybe we shouldn't be doing this extra contract because our guys have more than enough without it. We'll be happy to give you that feedback from the customer perspective.
And you always need a second person to hold your beer while you're working.
Well, just from a safety perspective, from a safety perspective, if you're pulling a transmission out, there should be a second person in that shop in case that transmission falls and lands on you and can help you get out of I mean, there's probably OSHA standards that mandate that there's a second person in a shop. So that's what I'm concerned with.
Well, and this can allow us to grow to possibly 2 mechanics.
Yep.
full
No,
time.
like I said, just food for thought. I am not opposed to it. It just brought up some questions and some current concerns.
And here's the benefit to this is, you know, having two guys in the shop, if, we'll just say Jeremy's doing something, you need an oil change or brake job, you can get it in and out that day versus wait, the thing being, our stuff being out of service also. Because there's times that we need oil change and we're behind an oil change, or we need brakes. You need to have those engines in service.
Those engines are priority. They have to stay priority. The
I know.
emergency response equipment
It's
needs to stay
but
priority.
here's the thing is, having a second guy is helpful to get stuff done.
It also allows us to start succession planning.
I'm with you. I told you, I'm not against it.
The operational discussion is interesting, but I'm ready to make a motion if you would like.
I'll second it.
Is there any more public comment?
Did you call for that?
That's why.
I still can't figure out if you're public or something else, so.
Public.
You make a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
CalPERS 25-26 contributions.
This is the time of year we bring to you our CalPERS contributions, from the updated actuarial from CalPERS. We have 4 plans. They're, classic safety, pepper safety, classic miscellaneous, pepper miscellaneous. If you put all 4 of those together, our 25-26 payment is 1.554 million. And you can see in 23-24, it was just 961,000. So, it continues to go up. The increase this year is about $283,000.
Good thing you had reserves.
That's more informational than anything else. Questions from the board?
Public comment, any comments from the public? Okay. Letter of support for downtown Loomis Corridor revitalization plan.
So we were approached by the town seeking support for the downtown Loomis Corridor revitalization grant that they are attempting to get from the California Department of Transportation. This project promotes transportation safety and accessibility for the community in the town of Loomis. Supports effective and efficient district emergency and non-emergency responses by hopefully cleaning up some of our traffic on the Horseshoe Bar Taylor Road corridor. And it goes to reinforce critical partnerships with the town and our regional stakeholders. There's a draft template of support in your board packet if you choose to move forward with it. I will turn it over to you all for discussion.
Questions or comments from the board?
So all they want is our support. That's all we're gonna have to say, hey, Southwestern Fire District supports it.
You would say something along the lines of, to whom it may concern.
Right. But
Yeah, on behalf of the district, we're pleased to express strong support for the town of Loomis application, yada, yada, yada.
And honestly, what's in it for the fire district other than doing a favor for the town itself?
Well, it cleans up some of the roadway, and I don't know if you've been to Horseshoe Bar and Taylor Road at various times of the day,
Yeah, it sucks.
right? So it's helping to clean up.
What's their plan? I mean, are they gonna?
I don't know what they're doing.
Are they put in a roundabout?
No, I don't think it's around. Oh, yeah, room there for around.
Well, but that's their answer to everything now is a roundabout.
Yeah, won't work.
Street improvements to reconnect destinations, enhance safety and expand access for people walking, biking, and going to schools, businesses, and public spaces. Advanced placemaking and economic vitality, engaging the community, integrating land.
Right, so that's all fluff.
If they improve the roadways and the corridors that gets people out of the front of the fire station, allows us to respond both code 2 and code 3 better and more efficiently, I don't see why you wouldn't go to support
I just want to be careful and I know that we want to support the town and partnership and all those things. But I read through that today and there's a lot of fluff, right? There's no meat on that bone that tells you what they're going to do. So we're going to put our support behind something that is very ambiguous and.
There's not a definitive plan, is that what we're saying?
Yes.
So they did adopt a plan. I don't know if it's been updated or changed a number of years ago. That was a streetscape that went basically from the elementary schools down
Yeah.
to High Hand. Did not include a roundabout.
Smart.
But I know, but
But I mean, I guess my point is that before we just support it blindly, we need to make sure that we know what we're supporting.
did they?
Does that make sense?
Did they express a timeline of when they needed this?
They would like the letter in by the end of the week.
Oh,
I got it right after the last meeting, and obviously we're here today.
Yeah.
I think it's the.
It would have been nice, it would have been nice to have somebody from Loomis come and do a presentation.
Yeah.
For us,
So tell us more about what they
tell
told
us
us.
about it.
I think it's irresponsible to give blind support to something. And I understand the political landscape to give our support as their fire department to the town itself. So don't think that I don't understand what this means politically. But giving blind support from the board is not something that I am real comfortable with.
Is there some sort of a deadline for them to file for?
They need the support letter by September 9th.
Our next board meeting.
I mean, I'll look at the board and if you want to blindly support it, that's fine and I'll go with you. But I just wanted to make that point.
I would support it, but I would have appreciated more notice. I don't know how you guys feel. That was my comments.
I got you. Jean looks like she's wondering.
I am. Well, I'm just thinking, what could be done with this grant that would go off the rails is kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
So they've got to comply with, road standards and safety standards and things like that. So I'm just trying to think of worst case scenario, where could this go off the rails in a way that, maybe the community doesn't like it and they're up in arms and then they come back to us and say, oh, you supported this and, we're kind of like, so, but honestly, I'm kind of hard pressed to think about where this could go off the rails, because the other part of it is not only are there safety standards and road standards and things like that, but the grant itself is going to have some parameters and some constraints on what the money can be spent on. So,
Yeah.
on the basis of these bullet points, enhancing connectivity and safety, and they do.
What is connectivity?
Getting from place to place.
Okay.
Efficiently, yeah, in an
So moving
efficient
from
manner.
High-end to-
And also, it
To
says.
Taylor's needs to be more efficient.
Yeah, so like if you're going from Railings to the Taylor's, hamburger stand, well, there's sidewalk and then there's not sidewalk, and then there's sidewalk and there's not sidewalk. So that's connectivity, is
Sure.
making sidewalk go all the way through. And it talks about that for pedestrians and placemaking and that's
I'm good with it.
that's signage, right?
I'm good
That's
with it.
saying, wineries this way and breweries this way and High Hand that way.
I'm good with it.
We know if this grant is because they lacking funding in order to be able to accomplish it?
They're doing the same thing we're doing. It's a grant that's available that they
Free
can
money.
use to offset costs that they were looking to spend anyway. Right, so they're looking to support from us, from the, everybody that would have an impact to them being successful in the grant.
I would support it, but I would also convey our concerns to the Loomis Town Council that in the future, we would like a little bit more information. And they like our support on their things. We kind of know what their plan is as we're making a decision to support or not support, what the actual plan is, not just, hey, we need money and we think you guys saying that we should get it is gonna help us.
And previously they had a streetscape plan, so they must have something in mind. So I appreciate Pete's concerns.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm a little bit hard pressed to find a downside.
Well, and I would agree with you, but to blindly support something, because the school district, Loomis did this to us with the school district before, asking for our support on a bond measure, right? And we need to be careful about where we enter into politics and what we choose to stand behind and what we don't, what we need to stay neutral on. And as, in my opinion, we need the information before we blindly support something. That's all my point is, and I'm good.
And I hear that, but I also believe collaboration between the community and.
Yes, like I said earlier, I understand the importance of that. I understand the political ramifications possibly if we don't.
Yeah.
But I am very, very hypersensitive to the politics, especially when it comes to the rank and file being put into politics or using them to support something that, you know what I mean? They come to work and their job is to not go out and be politicians and have people ask them, hey, did you support this? I mean, we need to protect them as much as possible from that. So I just want to make sure that before we just don't blindly support things because it sounds good.
I'm just.
But I am good with this. I just think that, I think Tracy said it best, that we would appreciate that you go to the town council and tell them next time they want our support on something, they need to give us some notice and some information and maybe have someone come here and present to us the facts.
If it was 10 years ago, I'd be questioning it, but you're a lot better now.
You know, essentially the item is for the board to authorize Tracy to sign this letter. Sent. And maybe in our approval, what we do is we say, you know, we're authorizing you to do that, but we're also asking you before you actually sign it and send it off to do a little due diligence, go contact the town manager and say, can you tell us a little bit more specifically about what you want? And if you see a red flag or something, then we are authorizing you to withhold the
Yeah.
letter.
Can I point somebody to do that? Because I'm bored of playing in about 6 hours. for these steps.
Okay, so,
Public.
okay, sign it, it gets escrowed with the chief and the chief can do that, or Pete can do it. Pete, you do it.
I can do it, but
I think the vice chair needs to do it.
I'm good, but I literally leave.
He's leaving.
I don't know, I'm just trying to,
So
you
just
know,
appoint one of us to do it. And we'll be done with it and we can wrap this subject up. If you want me to do it, I'll do it. Yeah.
so you'll sign the letter. So a motion is that the board authorizes Tracy to sign the letter and that it basically gets escrowed with Pete pending his contact with the town manager to find out more specifically about what they intend to do with these funds if they get them.
So I have to
And if-
contact the town manager.
Yes.
Isn't that the chief's job?
No.
You're the board representing.
It
backfired.
That means you go tomorrow, go down and knock.
Yeah.
All right,
You
let's
see
do
a
it.
red flag there or a concern, you know, with what they're gonna do with the money, then you withhold the letter. We're authorizing you to withhold the letter or.
Don't just show up and not say anything.
You started out so good.
I know. So let's see.
Are we gonna ask the public if they?
All right, is there, did we already go to public?
No.
Okay. I started to, and I think.
No, this-
It's not gonna get.
Yeah, this lady.
Is this the grand tour? I missed who the
It's,
grand tour.
it is the,
California Department of Transportation,
thank you.
Oh.
Is that?
right up there.
Yeah.
These are Caltrans.
Thank you.
The one comment I had, because labor is unfortunately at times political, is that we may be in the very near future, asking for support from the town of Loomis for something we may be doing, so it might be us to support them. That was our only.
Yep, and I understand that. That's why I started my whole diatribe with,
Breakfast.
I understand the political part of that, so.
I'll be united.
All right, so just so I have this straight,
I'm gonna sign a letter. You're gonna take that letter and you're gonna hold on to it. You're gonna talk to the manager of town of Loomis.
Okay.
Get more information on the actual plan that is supposed to be going forward.
Tomorrow or Wednesday.
okay,
That means-
so you have the number to the town manager?
If you'd like, we can go down together.
Let's do it.
And
Can we hold hands?
I was.
You're my boss.
That might be harassing. Yeah,
I don't know, that sounds weird.
We're all good.
I'm open almost all day tomorrow and Thursday, so.
Okay.
Do we need that in the form of a motion?
Yes,
Yes, I think we already got the motion.
I'll second it.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for giving me
5 minutes.
Please.
That's-
Okay. The 2025 fire code adoption for reading.
God bless the state. In 2026, they'll adopt the 2025 fire code. It works. Totally makes sense.
Part of the course.
This you've reviewed the new code, but no amendments were made due to the new law.
Yes, it's AB 130.
AB 130 basically says we have to take it as it is. We can't make changes because it would possibly impact the pathway to affordable housing.
It's a moratorium on any local amendments. And the law goes into effect on October the 1st of this year. So the law goes into effect ahead of when we're able to get our draft of any local amendments done. And so the state's effectively blocked this for a period of 6 years to reduce the construction cost. So
With that, this basically works like the Nexus study. We're going to do 2 readings. The first one is tonight. Pete, in your dulcet tones, I need you to read the entire ordinance out loud to the board.
Yeah, not gonna happen.
First reading, second reading next month, after the adoption of the ordinance in the October meeting. We'll send these to Placer County and the town of Loomis for adoption as the land use authorities, which will hopefully be in place by January 1st, 2026 for the 2025 fire code.
Chief, could I add something real quick?
Of course, Jeff, please.
So basically, since we're not allowed to make any new additions to our local amendments, we are allowed to carry forward all of our existing amendments. So that's what's been done on this first reading. The only things that were changed was just code number references that changed with the new 2020 code. So all of our local amendments that we've passed over the years are still in place and carry forward. It's just no amendments. And that's important because we have some specific ones that are very, say, specific again to our jurisdiction that we've enacted over the years that really make a difference on the operational side for us. So it's important that those are able to be carried forward. That's it.
Any questions from the board? Questions or comments from the public? Okay. Any discussion?
Yeah, let's rock and roll. All right, call volume 334 calls in August, down slightly from last year at 341.
And right around 344 the previous year. We're tracking at about plus or minus 0.2%, year over year.
Can't change it.
Busiest apparatus, Medic 19, followed by Engine 18, Engine 16, Engine 17 are all right in the same sweet spot, then Medic 16. Followed by primary station, 18, 17, 15, 19. Here's the calls by districts by unit engine. What we're seeing for this in the engines is they're mostly staying in their own areas with 17 and 16 responding into 15's area and 19 being covered by a good swath of the rest of the engine companies. On the medic side, Medic 19 has really picked up in volume and is handling calls all across the district. Getting busier. We had 7 fires in August. They were all vegetation and 4 of them were mutual aid. Turnout time is going down, travel time is going up, with total response time creeping up above about 9 minutes and 10 seconds in this last month on that average line, but really up to about 9:30 for the month. Unit hour utilization, like I said, Medic 16 or Medic 19, 121 calls, 16.5% utilization, and then 16's at 85 at 9.5, and the engines are running about 5 or 4. Here's a graph of that, and you can see here's Medic 19 really picking up the line.
So in the fire prevention side of things, we kind of continue at a really steady, manageable pace. We had 2 new residential starts last month, 1 new commercial start. It's a little over 24,000 square feet of remodel activity, so that still tends to be a little on the high side. 37 sets of plans came into the office, and Katrina and I performed 38 inspections with only 1 re-inspection. So pretty good ratio on that. Currently working with the county and a bunch of other agencies on local hazard mitigation plans. That continues to take a lot of my time. It's a plan that we do every 5 years. Between all the county agencies and all the other fire districts, we have to be a part of it if we were ever to receive any kind of assistance from FEMA. So if we're not a part of that plan, then we wouldn't get that. So working on that, it's a series of workshops and worksheets that we have to do with a consultant that they've hired to be a part of that plan. So it's a big chunk of work, but at least it's only once every 5 years. Facilities wise, Station 18, if you've driven by there since Saturday, notice that there's no landscaping anymore. So we had a team of 27 volunteers, 24 volunteers, and 3 of our staff that worked on that on Saturday morning. I did a bang up job, was able to get all the existing vegetation out of there. We had great support from the town of Loomis. We had Rayleigh's provided donuts and coffee in the morning, and then Pizza Factory provided lunch for everybody. So it's a nice way to support the workers out there, and that basically lays the groundwork for the UC Master Gardeners to come in at the end of October, beginning of November, and redo all the landscaping. You'll see a sign there in the next week or so that's going to be basically a little informational sign to the public saying this is under construction. This is what we're doing. We're going to do a fire safe, basically landscaping, and so it'll kind of give the public an idea of what's going on, why there's no landscaping there. So it was great, great support, great help from the community to get that done in a short period of time. On the investigation side, we have 1 arson task force call out to the city of Auburn that myself and investigator Joe Stevens participated in and assisted Auburn City Fire with their investigation, residential fire up there. Outside of that, in the district, it's been fine.
Overtime, 62%.
That sign that's going to be out there, is that going to include the donation that High Hill is going to provide as far as?
So that's 2 different signs. So the first sign that's going out there is just saying that basically it's under construction. This is what's going to be happening. There's another sign when the project is finished that'll say we proposed, who participated in this, who donated, things of that nature. At this time, it's been requested from High Hand. They're happy to donate, but they requested they're not part of any kind of signage that mentions that.
They're not part of what?
Any kind of signage that mentions that on site, they don't want to be on a
Don't
sign.
wanna be-
They don't want to be on the sign?
They do not.
Oh, I heard that they had concerns when they did the library, that they weren't acknowledged for their.
I've been in contact with Scott Paris over there, who's the one that's graciously volunteered to donate the plants for the landscaping. And at last request, he's stated that he does not want high landscape, to be honest.
Well, then it's, if he's comfortable with me, I am.
And obviously, we'd be more than happy, we'd love to include them, but that specific request, they've asked, they not.
Yeah.
Any other questions from the board?
Back to overtime. 60% open, 60% leave, 50% vacation. Mandatory 55, voluntary at 45. We were going through a bit of a lot of mandatories. I think we're starting, you guys can chime in if I'm wrong, but we're starting to see that reduce quite a bit over the last few weeks. I imagine September's report will be much improved with the hiring of some new employees. You can see how the mandatory and voluntary lines have crossed. And we're hoping to see that corrected. So total hours is up, and in there is some hours for the academy as well. So high hours overall, open spots in the academy. Total dollars. Leave usage, vacation is a little lower, and sick leave is lower than last year with overtime. Committee monthly reports. Farah?
Cancel September.
Canceled September. Special district ad hoc?
We had a really productive meeting this last month. The meeting that we had from LAFCO kind of spilled over into that meeting, and it actually opened it up a lot more. So it was way more productive than the meetings we've had in the past. And yet, at some point, everybody was kind of holding their cards close to their chest, and that's no longer the case. So we're going to be making some headway in that meeting. There was some assignments that were given out. The chief's going to be coming back up to report on 201 rights, ambulance services, how we work them. In the meeting, it's been pretty consistent with Placer Hills, Newcastle, Thurman, and us. Forest Hill kind of comes and goes in and out. So we're going to kind of bring them up to speed on what that is, because they don't really have an understanding of how we operate our ambulance service. To dovetail off of that, Janine and I had a meeting this morning with board members from Penryn to convey our apologies for how the LAFCO thing was handled, how rapidly it went. It was not our intent. And to try to hopefully put their mind at ease that we're not here for a hostile takeover. It was our position when we first did the municipal service review rebuttal was to be able to get information to make sure that if something did make sense in the future within the next 5 years, that we had spheres of influence in order to make something happen if it made sense. So we're literally just looking for information to get to know what we don't know at this point. So they were very receptive to that. And we're mending those fences, and I think it mended a lot of fences this month in that meeting up there as well. So hopefully we can continue on with those meetings and continue to make the progress that we've made.
How was Penryn on that? They were pretty positive.
Yeah, no, they were,
Yeah,
we talked to them shortly at the meeting that we had up there for the Western Placer group. And then today when Janine and I spoke with them over at Smithville for coffee and no, they were very
It
receptive
was a
to
real
it.
pleasant conversation. Yeah.
There was a lot of emotions and stuff that happened, and that's something we need to work on. And that's kind of what the committee, the ad hoc was all about, was trying to work on that to begin with. Unfortunately, this kind of all came down at a LAFCO thing kind of came very rapidly. It was a letter that came to the chief. He talked to me about it. I was like, yeah, that goes right in line with what we'd asked for during the MSR. It went forward. The next day we had a meeting up there. The next, 4 or 5 days later, it was sitting in LAFCO. So there was a very rapid sequence there. But I think there's some good stuff that's going to be coming out of LAFCO back to the districts. Jean's been talking to some individuals, getting some more information on that. So, but I think the important thing is that mending has started, and it's actually, I feel that it started and it's rapidly happening. So we can continue to work towards a common goal for all the smaller districts.
Have they found a replacement for Michelle McIntyre yet?
Yeah, so, it's Tuesday, yesterday afternoon, LAFCO had a meeting, so, she's no longer there. And, they really want to keep things moving, so they hired a firm who, provides staffing, particularly to small LAFCOs that can't really afford their own full-time staff. So they have hired, this outside, firm to provide staffing on an interim basis while they conduct a recruitment. But they're really committed to to keep things moving operationally, and this is how they plan to.
Hopefully, the momentum that is currently going on is
Yeah.
going to continue.
Yeah, I think I spoke with Josh about that information from, well, when I spoke with Josh, he said that they were considering 2 entities, and I've since heard that yesterday afternoon that they chose the firm as opposed to I guess it was a single person consultant to act as an interim director, but they chose to have the firm because they have more robust staffing, and they seem very, very committed to keep things moving. And one of the things that Josh expressed is that he really wants districts, not just fire districts, but all, the districts, that LAFCO is a tool for us and to help us and to assist us and work with us. And if they don't drive, the direction that we want to go, in the case of like city annexations or those types of things, LAFCO is charged with approving those things, but they're not driving the issue. So using that example of like an annexation of county territory into a city, the county and the city decide they want to do that, and then it has to go before LAFCO. Same thing would be like a future merger with districts. Districts drive that, and then LAFCO just has to approve that it's fair and that it serves the citizens and that certain processes are adhered to. So he really wants to make sure that we understand that they're a tool for us. And I think, hopefully we're going to be hearing more from them and more about that.
Finance school.
So we met last week and reviewed the budget that we proposed earlier today. We reviewed that budget, and in the staff memo today, it identified, bullet points like the increase in CalPERS costs and things like that. So we discussed those items in a little more detail than we actually did here, but understanding those drivers in budget, and then approved recommending the budget to the board, and the memo states that the finance is going to review that. Pardon me?
It was a good meeting.
Yeah, did you have anything?
No.
Yeah.
Respondents, ours report 1.775, earnings of 8,000 last month. Fees. Chief's report, full reports in the packet. Some highlights to Jeff's point. This is the group of volunteers that came out and helped at Station 18. Ton of work done. Del Oro FFA, a couple of Inns Group.
Bench group from the church in Penryn, and then FFA.
So great group, did a ton of work.
Scouts too.
I failed to take a picture of the actual work being done, so that
Looks good.
at the next meeting, as we move forward. Additionally, kudos came in to Engine 18 crew. I think you'll see in the next packet for helping retire fire from Mississippi, picked him up a couple times, had nothing but great things to say.
The engine purchase that you approved a few months ago. Contract authority for that. We've entered into contract for an engine. It meets 95%, 98%.
Sure.
Justin, you want to? Sure.
Yeah, we've got it, we're excited, we got it as close as we could, there's still got a call today from them, put in another thing, changes, but anything that's different, I'm pretty sure we can do in-house. It's similar, but paint graphics should be matching, so that's a good thing.
So it's pretty close. Right now, we're at $1,017,000. You approved 1.2. We still have to buy some equipment, some radios, some technology to put in there. And we will most certainly be under the $1.2 million budget bid. Finally, Chief Magnuson, you're up.
Yes. One of the best things I could do in my job is to give accolades where they are due. Our guys and gals in this department district are some of the best paramedics I've ever seen in the state. Back in May, we had a field save. Person went into cardiac arrest. I know it's May and it's September now, and it's a little fire season. I got a lot of stuff going on. I apologize, but I want to recognize Taylor and Captain O'Leary, Engineer Taylor Bromley and Captain O'Leary. They responded to the barn.
It was a personal barn, but it was felt dirty.
And gentleman went into cardiac arrest while they were treating him for chest pain. There are quick actions and high level training and practice. And these guys, like I said, are some of the best I've ever seen. When reacted quickly, and that guy was out of the hospital within a week, which is very, very rare. It's in the state, it's 25% of the time we can get a heart restarted, and less than 1% of those people actually make it out of the hospital. This gentleman made it out of the hospital. I went and visited him. He's a very private person, so you really didn't want to do anything major, but I do want to recognize these two gentlemen and Captain Gray, who are not here, with this life-saving field save coin. Not very many of these have given out. Sean, would you say it's an elite club?
Yeah, I would say that, sure.
He's one of the originals. Since I've been here, I've given this is the third set. Now, we did have another field save this weekend that we're waiting to see the results of. Also Engine 18. I'm hopeful that the person's going to make a full recovery as well. But this gentleman certainly did. I went to his house, like I said. So that is for you. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yep.
Great job. Great job. And we will get
In front of the board. No, get in the picture, you guys. Board in the picture. Come on, see me. Another one of these.
Were you there for that one? Yes, we get two if you want. Yeah, super elite.
Right.
Captain Klein, he removed a foreign body airway obstruction a couple of years ago.
Maybe the board can rally behind that.
No, I haven't seen her in a bit. Yeah. Yeah, I know, exactly. I'm afraid to. Yeah. Look at it. Good job, man.
I was trying to find some clear space for you all there. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Fantastic. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
We just covered, we had another field save in the past few days. So, strong work from everybody involved. Thank you. Keep up the great work. It's rare to see it and have it happen multiple times in a short period. It's just a testament to the professionalism and the work you guys are doing. So kudos to you.
Good job.
I think that concludes my chief report. Anything from the board? Any functions, Stephanie? Functions, yeah, functions. Pancake breakfast, October 4th, at Station 18, 7 to 11.
7-Eleven.
Don't be late. It doesn't always go to 11 because we run out of pancakes. So first come, first served.
So we're gonna have the same turnout like we had last time?
I would imagine it's never been, if we're not doing as much advertising as we did for here because it's already an impacted and crowded spot over there. So we're gonna go with the organic stuff.
So, but it'll still be busy, and we usually sell out around 10-ish, 9:30, somewhere there, so if you want pancakes, be early.
Yeah. you need
Yeah,
that.
it helps having the proof sheet,
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, don't let Ace try to
Yeah.
impact this, right?
Yeah. Sorry, too many instructions.
Border staff comments.
Robert Redford passed away.
That's gonna be.
Future agenda items. We will adjourn to closed session. Adjourn closed session, reopen the regular board meeting. There's nothing to report out of closed session. So with that, meeting adjourned.